episode 199 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord, and after 2 weeks of forgetting to write a monologue, I'm hoping that this asinine bit can finally die. And if it does, we'll have finally answered the ultimate question of my existence. What is more powerful, my commitment to the bit or my laziness? I think the results speak for themselves.
And I'm Cameron Dexter. 199. That's so crazy.
I'm genuinely having a hard time believing that.
Yeah, we must have skipped some numbers.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past us.
Yeah.
At all. I like to think I have this stuff pretty well planned out, but I
am the one that does the artwork. Yeah, I have typed out every one.
I love how every episode it starts off before we record it. I ask you, where's this episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you know the answer.
I mean, I sometimes know the answer.
Sometimes you know the answer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we haven't missed any. Now, okay. Here's a real question for you, Cameron. I suppose we could do this next week when we hit 200, but let's
we have so many big plans.
So many plans. Let's go ahead and do it here. We have 199 official episodes.
Oh,
how many episodes total have we published?
I'm gonna throw out either 236 or 243.
You're very close. 247 as of this episode. Very, very
so
close.
Much.
Very, very close.
So we're also going to celebrate 250 right after the 200?
Exactly. Do we have to do like a bonus episode that's about our 250th episode?
I mean,
after we just did our
200th
episode.
Yeah. We haven't done a bonus episode in a while.
We haven't. I actually have an idea on that I'm going to chat with you off air about.
Okay.
But I have some suggestions to throw out to you for possibly a bonus episode to sneak in here as we finish out our run.
Is it a backdoor pilot for Titan Talk?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I wonder how long we can keep that bit going of you mentioning Titan Talk and me saying nothing.
Is it a bit? It doesn't feel like a bit.
I don't know if it's a bit or not.
It feels like me desperately trying to hang on to this friendship.
And me being like ready to discard it entirely. We can go back to not being friends off air.
Great.
So, but yeah, I mean, that is pretty crazy. 199.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. I don't know. We'll do something for 200. Haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing one episode next week.
Yeah.
And then our short list.
Yeah. Oh, right, the short list.
Yeah, which again will be like last season, I'm sure.
The whole thing. I think it's literally the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So. Will be fun. But no news this week. We already covered DC Fandom last week. The only things we were talking about was some of those trailers. So I think we can just jump straight into our episodes.
Oh, man, we're in it. Let's do it.
We are in it, yeah. So starting off with Panic in the Sky. So picking up where things left off at the end of Flashpoint, after Lex Luthor remote fired the Watchtower's orbital cannon to frame the Justice League, the League is left in a state of shock on the depowered Watchtower. The founding members decide to turn themselves into the government, which is terrible timing, because Amanda Waller sends Galatea and an army of Ultraman clone drones to defeat the remaining League and destroy the Watchtower. Meanwhile, Batman is on his own mission to confront Waller, and Lex Luthor moves into the final phase of his own nefarious plot. So, lots happening here.
So much going on.
I mean, so much is going on, but also the bulk of this episode is just a big fight sequence on the Watchtower between all of the the unlimited members that have been added this series with Galatea and the Ultramen, and it's glorious.
And it's brutal.
It is. It's really, really intense.
So if I can ask a question about that right off the top.
Sure.
We've had a long, over the past 199 episodes, 247 episodes.
Yes.
We've consistently talked about anything inorganic can just be brutally destroyed by the Justice League members.
Yes.
The plants from Poison Ivy, Ventriloquist gets brutally murdered multiple times.
Well, Scarface, to be specific.
Scarface gets murdered multiple times.
Arnold Westler does
Whenever they get the chance, they obliterate that thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Ultramen, there's a couple of them, they just explode.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's become a weird gray area because they're still humanoid in shape and in look.
Right.
And they're organic clones, but are they people or are they products? How can they go about destroying and dismantling this army?
Given that Waller makes a specific comment about how they have no consciousness and they feel no pain, I feel like that was their justification for doing whatever the fuck they want with them. Because you're right, some of them are like pretty brutally dispatched. So
It's really just the water ones. The water ones, they get to do whatever they want.
They just do whatever the hell they feel like. I think it's fair to say that they're treating this like they're definitely towing that line of like, well, they're not really human, so we can do whatever we want with them. Because like we've even talked about it. Even Jean has had some like pretty brutal attacks on him at various points because he's like technically kind of not human.
Yeah, he got ripped in half a few times.
Yeah, which I guess is fine because he can literally just like pull himself back together.
Yeah,
quite literally. But yeah, I mean it's a pretty brutal fight across the board. But man, my God, is it good? But I mean, just right from the very beginning, like this episode like isn't pulling punches. Like it starts off with Waller talking with Galatea and setting up for her mission to go off, and then she's getting to leave, and right before she leaves, she turns back and turns to Hamilton and just hugs him and says goodbye, Daddy, and walks away.
Do you think when I watched that scene, all I saw was Bruce Timm saying that to himself while drawing Galatea?
Maybe. I mean, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it does go to show that they take a moment even to give her a little bit of humanity, even though she's like the big bad of this episode.
I mean, she is Supergirl's clone. She is Kara.
Yeah.
And it does make sense that you still see those little bits of Kara in there.
Yeah. It's a pretty touching moment. It's the last time we see Hamilton too, and it's like the last thing he sees is his pseudo daughter basically going off to what she knows will be her death, or at least her end in one way or the other.
Her vaporization.
Yeah,
with that sick haircut.
Oh, that's a great haircut. After she's fried?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very 90s.
Oh, very, very 90s. And then, at that point, it kind of cuts back to the League, and they're figuring out what to do here and whether they should send down more help to go aid the rescue in what we now know is New Mexico, where the orbital cannon went off. And Flash is the one that says, like, maybe don't send anyone else down here. We don't want to look like an invading army. And you could tell at this point, Superman's just like fucking defeated.
Yeah, and Flash through both of these episodes, these are Flash's stories now.
Yeah,
like Flash is truly the conscience and the heart of the League at this moment.
Yeah,
and he's doing everything he can to just kind of keep the group together.
Yeah, he's trying so hard, and he can see it all fraying, all coming apart, and he's just trying to do the best he can, while also recognizing like people don't take him seriously, but they do kind of take him seriously because he's a founder, but also he's like the jokester. So, like, I think he's surprised that he has a seat at that table.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, because they even make that joke in the next episode.
They do, yeah. I've got a big chair up there on the watchtower.
Yeah.
I'm gonna paint my name or paint my symbol on the table. Yeah, but so the League is trying to figure out what to do, and they basically like come to the decision that the one step they can take is to go ahead and dismantle the orbital cannon, just kind of like as a sign of good faith. And then Superman decides the only other thing they can really do is go ahead and turn themselves in, the founding members in.
Well, I think it was really interesting seeing all their viewpoints, because it's the specific people who pitched the ideas.
Yeah.
GL came in with a very militaristic, very like police attitude.
Right.
Of we're not here to be liked. We're here to save people. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Wonder Woman comes in with a very like political view. I mean, she is the representative of the mascara.
Yeah.
She comes in with like, no, we should be cooperative. We should play nice until we're proven innocent.
Yeah.
We should, kind of do what they say. And then Superman, finally realizing how much of a threat he is, understands like, no, I need to disarm myself. I am the nuclear bomb, and I need to disarm myself.
Yeah.
And you guys can come too.
Yeah, and you can come along if you must.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they decide that they're going to go turn themselves in, and the Flash agrees to join them, and Batman's just like, no.
Yeah, I'm not part of your league.
Yeah, he's like, a member, I'm a part-timer, I don't have to do anything you want. Like, I don't have to do anything is literally what he tells them, because he's like, this is dumb. Why the hell would I turn myself in?
Yeah, and I loved Wonder Woman's response after that. It was, he took it better than we expected.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he answered. That's always a great sign.
He took the call, which is pretty good. But yeah, there was no way he was going to do that. But there's a nice little moment, because Supergirl in particular is like really affected by the idea of them turning themselves in, because she's younger, she has a slightly different perspective on all of this. I think she's a little more overwhelmed by all of it. But in particular, seeing Superman decide that he has to treat himself like a villain, or do what a villain should do in this case, which is turn himself in, like really, really affects her. And I really like the talk that Steel gives her about
It's a beautiful speech
about those guys. Like, they're not the most powerful, but they're special, you know, and as he puts it, you know, they do what's right, not what's easiest. And they're really the inspiration for all the rest of us. And I'm glad they gave that little moment to Steel, who I think is just generally an underutilized character, including in this universe, but it's a really touching moment.
Well, yeah, all these characters specifically, like this episode is like a follow-up of a Superman episode.
Yeah.
And we even see that kind of at the end of this and the start of the next episode. But having Steel and Supergirl being the one, like, you know, you can't villainize yourself, Superman. She's the one that took the brunt force of the evil Superman.
Yeah.
And so, like, of her to be the one to, like, understand that.
Yeah. That's a good point. If there's any one person on Earth that would feel victimized by Superman's power, it would be her, and she's not.
And Steel, because, like, he was there.
Yeah. So it's really interesting that they put a lot of the weight on those two characters. I mean, I guess, like, the cynical production side of me says that part of the reason they had to do that was because the Bat embargo was fully in effect now, and they couldn't utilize any of the Batman characters who have more long-running history here. But that being said, like, aside from them, the other heroes that have been around the longest would be Supergirl and Steel.
Yeah.
Really. So it makes sense that they would get a little moment to shine there. But it's really touching, and especially because Supergirl's going to be like the front and center of the fight once Galatea shows up. But like I mentioned, Batman's kind of off on his own mission. So he's like, he breaks into Cadmus, takes out Eiling with a batarang and a swift punch to the face, not even trying.
No, not even looking.
He doesn't even look at him when he throws the batarang.
He just knows. He's that predictable.
Which is great. And he basically goes up to Waller. He's like, you know, you said you were a patriot. You know, you need to believe that we didn't do this. And you need to be looking at Lex Luthor. It's like, we didn't fire it. There are 3 people on this planet who could have remote fired that cannon. 2 of them were on the watchtower. Only one of them is left. And she's like,
would it be him, Manhunter, and Lex?
No, I think...
Adam?
I think he was probably referring to Adam and Steel. Would be my guess. I don't know if he was referring to himself, because actually he wasn't on the watchtower.
That's true.
Technically at the time, one. And it may be a rare moment of humility on his part that he says that, where it's like, and that would make sense, because the Atom is probably the most, like, technologically competent of everyone up there, and then along with him, Steel, who has a slightly more, like, weapons focus. But I think those are the 2 people that probably could have engineered a system to make that happen.
Okay.
But he's like, yeah, you need to be thinking about Luthor, who is just the fucking worst. So maybe you should consider him. And Waller's like, he's just here to bankroll everything. Batman's like, are you fucking kidding me?
No, yeah, she even says, like, you know, he's only helping us because we'd make him president.
Yeah.
He's like, do you really think that's his ultimate goal, is just to become president?
It's enough. It's like, that would be enough for anyone else but him.
Yeah.
Like, come on, get your head out of your ass. We all know what's going on here. And she has to kind of, like, begrudgingly acknowledge, like, maybe he's right on this one.
Maybe he's right.
Fucking rich boy.
I bet this was the guy that stole my presidential phone.
She's still upset about that.
Oh, I would be.
She really had to bury that grudge in order to move forward.
Well, because this scene I felt was really interesting, because, like, this is the longest we've gone without Batman.
Yeah.
It was almost 2.5 episodes.
Yeah.
We didn't see him at all. Where was he, Chris?
He's in Gotham, just doing his thing.
He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
I liked, because the last time we saw him, if I remember correctly, the last time we saw him was at the end of Superman fighting Captain Marvel.
Oh, that's right. He was recovering.
Yeah, and the last thing we see is Superman look over his shoulder and be like, we'll fund the city.
Yeah.
And I think Batman had to go back to Gotham and, like, really reorganize some money.
Move around some assets
Yeah.
in order to pay for all of this.
It's been a rough 3 weeks for Bruce.
Yeah. Like, okay, do you think at this point, given how big the league is, that they have some other funding other than just Wayne Tech?
Well, I mean, Ollie's there now.
Yeah.
We don't know how much Ollie runs Queen Industries. There we go. I feel like he wouldn't fund it publicly. He definitely wouldn't fund it publicly.
Yeah.
But he may, like, you know, donate a lot at a charity event. I'm sure they do a lot of charity events.
They probably do a lot of charity stuff, and I feel like I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's weird. Like, do you think Bruce would have gone around and, like, tried to collect some additional private investment, or do you think that would have he wouldn't do that because it would compromise like the sanctity of the League, and it would make them beholden to other people in a way that would compromise their mission.
He definitely wouldn't ask. What I think he would, where I think part of the money comes from, it's a very small portion, but it's definitely visible. It's 2005, very 2005, as we've mentioned many times before. What was big in 2005? The Win a Date charity events. And so,
are you just thinking of Win a Date with Tad Hamilton because you still have Josh Duhamel on the brain?
Yes, but now it's the Flash, and he would set it up for himself by himself.
He absolutely would, and he would really not raise very much money when he did it.
Oh, but he'd be so proud of every dollar he raised.
That's
and he
true,
would slam it on the table. Be like, here, put this in the fund.
Here's $50.
Yeah. He'd do more than 50.
It can go to funding the cappuccinos on the Watchtower.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like at this point, this is when shit really hits the fan. And by that, I mean a bunch of Damocles missiles hit the Watchtower with drills on them and unload an army of Ultimen.
Yes.
Did you like that they included a little mention of Damocles in there?
So happy.
Mr. Sword of Damocles?
Yes. I didn't realize it was mentioned before Crisis on Two Earths.
Was it?
Yeah, so I had to look it up. But these missiles were first introduced back in Superman. As a project Lex was working on privately.
Oh.
And I guess he was just starting the project back in the Superman episode.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it was called Project Damocles back then. And so I think they just reused the name for Two Earths.
Were they always intended to be space-based deployment missiles with drills in the front of them?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Things change.
Actually, I just realized now, it's too late because the Watchtower database video about Batman and Bond has already come out. But the drill heads on those missiles look just like the drill from Tomorrow Never Dies.
Ah,
yeah.
I think I've seen that one. That was the last Brosnan one, right?
No, it was his second.
Okay, I've not seen that one.
That's the one where he goes up against a media mogul who wants exclusive broadcast rights in China.
Great. So it's Josie and the Pussycats.
Sure, which I have not seen.
Oh, Chris.
I know.
It's wonderful.
I know.
I was also very late to that one. I just watched it last year.
Heard it's great. I got to go watch it at some point.
You will really like it.
Yeah, I got to go watch it. But yeah, no, it's actually it kind of works. It sounds really stupid, and it kind of is stupid, but also kind of works at the time. But yeah, like, so these missiles are heading towards the Watchtower, and it's been so long since I watched this. I thought like, oh, like, are they gonna try and like deflect the missiles in some way? And then of course, like, the nose cones open up and the big drill heads pop up, and there's I think 24 missiles that just collide with the Watchtower at different places, and then the drill heads pop off once they've breached into the Watchtower and just unload a bunch of Ultimen.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting way to deploy a bunch of villains.
So I'm trying to remember the first time we meet the Ultimen. They make a point that the longer they're alive, the stronger they get. So So is that why, like, I don't want to say they're like super easy to take down, but they're kind of just fodder for the most part in this sequence.
Yeah, and I think they're being remotely controlled by Galatea.
Okay.
And I don't know how much effort she's really putting into making them think creatively. I mean, if you watch them, they're all basically just acting as bruisers with powers, right? They're not necessarily being strategic with their powers. They're not overlapping them in any sort of way. They're not working in tandem, except for that one time we get three
Wind Dragon,
yeah, 3 Wind Dragons up against Red Tornado.
I loved that moment. Because like obviously Red Tornado is emotionless as a default,
yeah,
but he just looked extra bored. Being like, ugh, I have to take out these children.
The 3 Wind Dragons are concentrating so hard, and like they do like a zoom in on Red Dragon's impassive robot face as he takes them out. Was that your favorite like moment amongst the big fight?
I wrote a couple of them down. The speech, the missiles. Red Tornado. Oh, the Creeper, when the Creeper takes them out.
Oh, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. Because it's like they have no idea how to handle it. No one has any idea how to handle
Why
the Creeper.
Is he there?
He snuck on.
It still baffles me to this day.
He
that
probably
he's there.
latched onto one of the outside of the missiles because he was just doing undercover research. And he's like, oh, where are we going? Oh, I'm going to the Watchtower? Cool, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, he's a League member because we've seen him pop up a number of times, but it just feels really bizarre that he would be amongst the League.
Yeah.
I guess he's like, he and Huntress are the only Batman characters they can get through the Bat embargo because they're so tangential.
And then the next shot I also really loved when it's Huntress and Q going up against the 3 wind dragons.
Yeah.
Hits him with the bedside pan.
Yep.
And then Captain Adams ends up saving them.
It's a nice little final kind of moment there for that dynamic that played out, of course, in Flashpoint when they were trying to escape from Cadmus. So yeah, I liked that Captain Atom had his little moment to be a hero after he like basically betrayed the League. But it's a great fight sequence, and these 2 episodes are structured in a brilliant way where this episode is really where the rest of the League gets a chance to shine. Like all the supporting leaguers get a chance to shine, and then the next episode is really back to the core 7 again. But it's done in a very effective way. Like, you don't really feel like anyone's getting shortchanged. You don't feel like it's a cop-out that it just gets down to the final 7, because here everyone does get a moment to do something, like, really cool.
Yeah.
And especially Supergirl, like, she's the lead hero on this. It's like her and Steel. Again, Steel goes down to the reactor core because he realizes that something's going wrong, and Galatea's down there trying to destabilize the core, so it causes a full meltdown. And she tears through him to the point of his armor is shredded, his hammer is destroyed, and he's like brutally beaten.
It was heartbreaking to see that.
Yeah.
He was thoroughly destroyed.
Yeah, like he probably would have been moments from death up until Supergirl shows up. And then it's the showdown between Supergirl and Galatea, and it's so good.
It is so one-sided. Supergirl doesn't get a punch in for 6 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
she hits one punch.
Yeah.
Because I was really focusing on kind of the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
And she whiffs everything.
I mean, Galatea has been aged up to like her physical peak, has been trained specifically for combat in a way that Supergirl hasn't, and has a very different moral code, and is not afraid of killing people.
Yeah, and especially when Waller calls off the attack. Like, hey, I was wrong, come back. And Galatea is like, no.
Nope, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Supergirl is able to get under her skin, though. She's like, you're not a person, you're just a weapon. And it just enrages her to the point of giving Supergirl just like a little bit of an edge to get into that fight. But to your point earlier, at the end of the day, like the only way she's able to defeat Galatea is to wait until the Watchtower is slowly booted up again, and then literally like drive a power cable into her body and fry her until she's alive. We get of course an Andrea moan there to show that she's still alive, but wrecked.
Yeah, I like how they do like injury, how they illustrate injury in this show. Because I feel like we didn't really see this style until Justice League and JLU, where it's like the swirls on the stomach and
it's like a burn pattern almost. Yeah,
because they use that for Steel right before. They use that when Supergirl is just getting the shit beat out of her. God. And then Galatea has the giant hole in her stomach after getting electroshocked. Yeah,
and I think we can assume at that point that she's, I don't know, like comatose or just super incapacitated, but like she's out. She's out at this point. And like, because the Watchtower comes back online, everyone's like, yay, and the power falls back out again because Supergirl has basically like, it's an oversimplification, but blown a fuse in the Watchtower, electrocuting Galatea, which is really, really intense.
Yeah.
But it's just done so well. And it's like, they don't have to dedicate a lot of screen time to giving little moments of closure or kind of wrap up for a lot of these characters, her included.
Yeah, okay. We're also I assume we see her next season still too.
I don't think so. I think this is it.
Oh wow.
Sorry, Supergirl. Yes.
Oh yeah. Galatea is done after this.
Yeah, Galatea is done. Yeah, we get a whole episode actually around Supergirl in the next season. That's also like her like actual proper send off.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I had to double check this, but I'm pretty sure Galatea is done at this point.
Well, I mean, if Hamilton's gone, then I would suspect Galatea is also gone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was it's her last appearance. So she's out. She's gone. But
I mean that is the end of her arc, though. Like, that is Supergirl's arc.
Yeah. What else is there really for Galatea to do?
I mean, she can try and be a hero, I guess.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
No,
I think she's out. She's gone.
Power Girl only has one fate. Has only had one fate since 1984.
To die?
To die.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You did a whole like Power Girl breakdown that I have, of course, forgotten.
That's fine. I also forgot I did that.
So at this point, like, it kind of wraps up a lot of the conflict between Cadmus and the League because Waller calls it all off and the League is able to defeat the army of Ultimen. So then it cuts over to Lex and we see that his ultimate plan has been to transfer his consciousness into a new version of Amazo that he's built for himself. This one having a Lex face.
A sharp jawline.
A very, very sharp jawline.
The one flaw of Amazo.
Right. But, you know, I do love it because he's there. He's basically going to do this. Batman confronts him and gets thrown out a window. And we think he's going to fall to his death, but then a hand reaches out and grabs him. And then it cuts back up to the Lex's lab, and Waller's there with like I think it was like a matter disruptor cannon.
Yeah, it was the one they were going to use against Amazo when he was coming to kill Lex.
Yes, exactly. So she has a handheld version of it, and she just melts the new Amazo body in a totally amazing, badass moment of her just standing there with like a massive fucking gun, being like, "Don't fuck with me, Lex."
Yeah, and it's, you know, the end of this episode and the start of next episode, it's two players we haven't seen engage in combat at all season.
Yeah.
We have her here, and then Manhunter finally gets to step up in the next episode.
Oh, yeah, in a really great way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was cool to see her get a moment to shine and be like a little bit of a hero, which it makes sense they kind of had to like pivot her towards being a bit of a hero given her character arc in Epilogue, which of course we'll be getting to shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But this is when we realized like Lex's real plan all along was to ruin Superman and give himself superpowers. So, and then right when they think they finally defeated Lex, big twist, Brainiac like emerges out of his body and we discover it was Brainiac all along.
Yes.
It was Brainiac all along.
Good. Great theme song.
Yeah.
This is where I had a problem.
You did.
I
Interesting.
did.
Okay.
I understood Lex wanting to ruin Superman's reputation. That was a through line through this whole series. We could visibly see that through line happening.
Yeah, the whole universe.
Yes. Yeah, that's always been his character motivation. The motivation of him wanting superpowers has kind of come and gone. We didn't really see that at all this season. That was never in the forefront. I would have liked one bit of that somewhere.
I think I attribute him wanting superpowers to being influence from Brainiac on him.
Okay, that's the last point I want to get to.
Okay.
I like a mystery where I can take breadcrumbs and I can follow breadcrumbs even if I don't see the big picture until the end.
Yeah.
I want to be able to rewatch it and be like, "Oh, they set that up for that reason. They set that up for that reason." And the episode they call back to when Brainiac kidnaps Lex was fucking 102 episodes ago for us. Something like that.
So it was from the episode Ghost in the Machine, which was episode 14 of season 2 of Superman the Animated Series from September 29th, 1997.
So that was...
It's about 7 years.
That's 7 years ago.
Yeah, maybe even 8, in fact.
Yeah, because this was 2005.
This is 2005, yeah. So it's been 7.5 years, basically, since that episode. Almost 8 years.
And that's a long time. And I don't need heavy-handed hints.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could make it, subtle.
Yeah, I think that's it. It does kind of come out of nowhere. It's kind of a weird retcon because it basically just says that for almost the entirety of the DCAU, Brainiac has been inside of Lex and subtly manipulating him. Also, somehow he was not picked up in the physical that Hamilton gave Lex when he realized that the cancer was gone. Somehow Brainiac hid within that. It's a little unclear where all of his biomechanical tentacles and legs came from, considering that he didn't actually possess matter manipulation until after he connects with the Darkheart in our next episode.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like it was thrown in there as a shock twist and to raise the stakes. I think it's mostly effective, but I do agree with you that it doesn't feel like it was maybe planned out from the beginning. It kind of feels like it was thrown in at the end there.
Even if they just had it for the last 6 episodes or so, have small things. We get the moments where Lex now has super strength. And where did that come from? I think if they would have done something with I think the other problem is Lex is already a super genius, so you can't make him smarter now that Brainiac's inside of him.
Yeah,
because that would be my first guess. It's now he just knows things he shouldn't know.
Right,
but that's already Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but he's already one of the smartest people on the entire planet to begin with.
Yeah.
So
if there was something, because I don't want it to be my other thought keeps going back to like Fantastic Four and the first one where they have Doctor Doom, and like anytime he walks by a computer, it like fizzes a little bit.
Oh, okay.
When he's like first understanding his power. I don't want that, because
Yeah.
that feels too heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, and I think maybe this might be the one writing weakness of this episode is I would be very curious to know, maybe it's out there somewhere, how far into the planning they came up with this idea of having it ultimately boil down to a Lex Brainiac hybrid.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's cool. It's super cool when they get the like combined outfit.
Yeah,
and it's half Brainiac, half Lex.
Yeah, it's a pretty like shocking reveal too, and a great cliffhanger, like a great button.
Yeah,
which actually I just realized, one could argue that this is the only 4-parter in all of the DCAU in a lot of ways.
When I looked up the Wikipedia, they presented it as the Cadmus 4-part finale.
Yeah. I mean, you must be loving this, Cameron.
Oh, I'm in heaven right now.
They've doubled your usual proposal of making it a 2-parter.
Yeah.
So
it's a double 2-parter.
It's a double. Yeah, I mean, it's a great button to end on where it's like, oh shit, like this is going to be nuts now. And it sure is. Should we move on to Divided We Fall then?
Let's keep moving.
But all right, so in Divided We Fall, Brainiac is revealed. Gas.
Bum bum bum.
Having stored a copy of himself inside Lex Luthor years prior, Brainiac has been
7.5 years prior.
7.5 years prior, Brainiac has been subtly manipulating him this entire time and has created a Lex Brainiac hybrid, separated from the rest of the league. The Founding Seven team with Amanda Waller to fight Lex / Brainiac. As they pursue the Darkheart nanotech to build the ultimate tool to assimilate all knowledge on Earth and then the rest of the universe. And the only thing that can save the day might be the Flash.
Oh, it's so good.
Our boy Wally.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so we've kind of gotten into like all the background on how the Lex Brainiac hybrid thing came about in the universe. So, you know, it basically triggers off a big fight between him and the Founding League. It looks like they're going to be defeated when they're all like being assimilated. And then, as you mentioned,
immediately incapacitated.
It happens pretty quickly. Within minutes, yeah. And then, as you mentioned, like Jean really steps up, and he's like, "Nope!" and he phases through the tentacles and just goes for the kill. Basically,
it almost felt like he forgot he could do it.
Almost, right?
He's been in the Watchtower for so long now.
Yeah,
and we kind of see him fight a little bit in Task Force X.
That's about it, though. Yeah,
but yeah, even then, like. He's not on his game, it doesn't feel like.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, right. I'm as strong as Superman.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot I can do that.
And I have more powers than Superman.
Yeah, and I don't see fire anywhere around here.
Nope. And Brainiac never had a chance to assimilate the knowledge of Mars.
That's true.
So Brainiac doesn't really know anything about Jean.
Mm-hmm.
Gives him an advantage.
There you go.
Yeah. But it was fun to see him like jump into the fight and like really get into it. And that's when Brainiac says like, "Oh, I was not prepared for this battle." So then he goes back inside LexCorp and turns like the top few floors into the classic Brainiac orbiting skull ship, which I love.
Good. It's so good.
I think this is maybe one of the best versions of it too.
Yeah, and this is one where I'm like, who cares how it works? I just like it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have no questions.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, they end up being able to take out the ship pretty quickly, which we eventually realize is intentional because all a ruse for another Brainiac to escape. But I think the coolest moment, though, is when Superman and Green Lantern laser in half from both sides.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, that's cool. It's really cool.
So I was thinking about that, and we know how Batman loves to steal ideas from people.
Yeah.
Or to steal things from people.
Mm-hmm.
In my headcanon for Batman, for Bruce, after that, he immediately went to Lucius, and he's like, hey, in case we ever need, like, an escape route, I need a button that turns the top of Wayne Tech into a giant batarang.
Giant batarang.
And he's like, why? He's like, just do it.
Just do it.
You don't need an answer.
Yeah. Make it into a transformer.
It's going to look cool. And then he throws money and disappears.
Yeah, like, and I'm out. He throws money like it's a smoke bomb.
Yes, exactly. I'm surprised like no one has done. I feel like that's a Teen Titans Go joke.
Yeah,
that
just
needs to be done.
Throw a bomb and it just deploys a bunch of cash.
Yeah,
you can escape. But yeah, so Lex and Brainiac escape, and Brainiac's basically said like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do to you what I do to everything else. I'm gonna assimilate your knowledge and destroy your body." And then, Lex basically says, well, then what are you going to do? He's like, well, I'm going to assimilate all the knowledge on Earth and then destroy it and then move on and do that for the rest of the galaxy. And then my program will be complete. And Lex is like, well, maybe you can be more than that. You don't have imagination, and I do. So let's see if we can partner up together.
Come with me, and you'll be...
I mean, there are a lot of comparisons, aren't there, between Lex Luthor and Willy Wonka?
And especially the live-action ones.
Especially the live-action ones. A little tangent here. I don't know if you saw the first look that came out from the Wonka prequel.
Oh, I did.
With Timothy Chalamet.
I like it.
Did you see the comparisons to Gonzo in The Muppet Christmas Carol and how they're wearing almost the exact same outfit?
I didn't, but I love that.
It is spot on, like almost the exact same.
I'm not surprised. That's so good. Have you watched Muppet Haunted Mansion yet?
I haven't.
Neither have I.
I need to watch
I feel
that.
really bad not seeing it yet.
I know. I guess I didn't watch it. I've heard it's cute.
Because you're a Muppets person.
I do. I really like the Muppets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It completely passed me when I was a kid.
I mostly love them because of A Muppet Christmas Carol, which I watch every year.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more than once. And then just little snippets I'd seen of the original Muppets show, but then also the 90s reboot Muppets Tonight, which is like the version I grew up on. I really like.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm one of those rare people that actually doesn't really like the Muppets movie with Jason Segel.
Okay.
I feel
like you're not alone in that. I feel like I hear a few people have that take.
I feel like it's a little bit underwhelming. Like they're not funny.
Got it.
In it, that movie
I haven't
at all.
watched any of the new ones.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with the Muppets. It's like they're supposed to be funny, and it's a lot of like bits and gags and stuff. In that movie, it's got a lot of heart, but it doesn't really have a lot of humor. But
did I pitch Puppet Up to you?
What?
It was for anyone that's coming to LA anytime soon. It's an improv show that happens at the Henson Theater.
Oh, okay, yes.
Puppet Up is an
yes.
improvised puppet show, which it's a very cool concept on its own because it's just an improvised puppet show.
Yeah.
But they have two screens on the stage, and one is what the camera sees, so kind of like how you would watch Muppets or Sesame Street, you see the puppets, but then the other camera is below the stage, and so you see the puppeteers actually working the mechanics.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I do love puppets.
When it comes back, they do one show every month or every other month.
Okay.
So when it comes back around, we'll see if we can get tickets.
Yeah, we got to go. That sounds really fun. Hey, but you know what? I mean, I would say this random tangent, but it's still apropos because Brainiac is basically walking around in a Lex puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Tied it in.
There you go.
Found it.
199 episodes of segues.
Still forcing them wherever I possibly can. But at this point, they're trying to figure out where Lex went, and they're trying to get in touch with the rest of the league. And it's basically not going to happen. No one can get off the watchtower at this point because the teleporters are down. All the javelins have been destroyed in the fight. And then even then, the rest of the league that came down onto Earth to help with the evacuation, as they put it, like they're well over an hour and away. So it's just going to be the original 7 again. And, like I mentioned when we were discussing Panic in the Sky, a pretty... I mean, it's a little bit forced, but for the most part, it's a pretty natural way of being like, okay, we've done the big league here. Now we're just down to the core 7 again. It's just back to like those original 7.
Well, Manhunter Jean even gets a small joke in there, which I think is great because he needed to be the one that says this.
Yeah.
Where he's like, can't we just use the teleporting pads? He's like, no, they're down again. He's like, are they ever working?
They're more trouble than they're worth, honestly. Yeah. These fucking teleporters. But yeah, so it's just the 7, and they go off to Cadmus headquarters, which I guess is in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's them going up against, now like this perfectly combined Lex Brainiac hybrid.
Purple and gold.
Yes.
So sleek.
Yeah, it's no longer this weird, like grotesque, like abomination in the middle of his abdomen with these weird tentacles and stuff. Like, it's very sleek gold suit, and Lex has kind of the blue classic Brainiac looking face with the little triangle thing up on the top. And
who's the there's MODOK, but who's the TMNT villain with the face in his stomach?
Kang?
Thank you.
Wow.
Is that TMNT? Yeah, that's TMNT.
Yeah, but he's got he's an alien inside like a robot body that doesn't have a head and it's just down the torso for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure that's Kang.
That sounds right.
Kang, or maybe Krang, because Kang is Kang the Conqueror.
That's right. Yeah, okay, that's why it didn't sound right. It is Krang, yes.
Krang with an R in there. Okay.
Because Billy and Mandy parodies that with
really?
Evil Con Carne.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
the brain of a genius is attached to a bear. because it's the only thing that he could find to like sync with his brain.
I never watched that show, but I remember that character.
Evil con carne.
Evil con carne. I gotta go look this up. Oh, okay, yeah, like this like kind of derpy looking bear with a brain in his head and in his.
Yeah, and I believe the brain
stomach.
even has the like Dr. No scar. Is it Dr. No? No, who has the like scar under there? Blofeld has the scar.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm really trying for you.
You're trying. I appreciate you trying. I mean, you only just saw Blofeld in the most recent Bond film, but yes, I will give you credit for that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be a friend over here.
Trying. Yeah. Thank you for being a friend. But yeah, so it's just them going up against the Justice League, and again, like Brainiac initially, so they've now bonded with the Darkheart as well, which, as we saw, was like the matter reprocessing nanotechnology from earlier on this season, and you kind of feel like with that technology they could literally just assimilate the entire planet in an instant, and it feels a little bit contrived. They have to like build some sort of big contraption to make it work, but whatever, it's a way to like delay things. But to slow things down, Brainiac creates a bunch of his like Brainiac robot clones to fight the League, and then Lex is like, we can do better, and so then he turns all of them into their Justice Lords counterparts, which is a great way to like thematically bring this all together again, because now all the Justice Lord android copies are not only fighting their doppelgangers, but just like shouting at them their worst fears, like android Superman telling Superman like, you are too dangerous, you're the problem. The android Green Lantern talking about Sha'ira, the android Sha'ira talking about how she betrays everyone all the time. Like, it really works there, that nice little thematic bridge to the season. Plus those designs are so good.
They are. I'm glad they came back.
Yeah, I'm glad they came back. I'm glad they just make Flash the Reverse Flash.
Yeah, make it easy.
Basically in that moment. And they do get like dispatched relatively quickly. But there's a few nice little moments in there. Like there's a moment where Superman and Wonder Woman basically just like trade opponents, so they're not having to face themselves. And then Green Lantern and Sha'ira are basically fighting their own doppelgangers. And Green Lantern has a moment where he's just like constantly hitting the Sha'ira android with a hammer.
He's got to let off some steam.
He's just letting off some steam, and then Sha'ira retaliates by knocking the head off of the John android.
Yeah, the Superman Wonder Woman one, if we're going to callbacks, it's a little bit of a looser callback, but I feel like that was a throwback to when they were fighting each other in an early JL episode.
Oh, and they got brainwashed into thinking they were each a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like we know they can go toe to toe.
Oh yeah, they can.
And so having them take out each other's clones pretty easily was a nice little touch to that.
It was. It's a good fight.
And this is also the start of the Flash kind of coming into his power.
Right, yeah.
Which just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, because things like really kind of escalate from here, because everyone's like kind of briefly incapacitated, and the Flash is basically like kind of burned himself out defeating his android counterpart, and he's briefly weak for a moment. So then Lex basically has other androids like pick him up, and we get that recreation of that shot from Question Authority when Question is being terrorized or tortured, excuse me. And he sees that kind of odd sequence of like
the shotgun.
the two soldiers holding the Flash between them, with Lex holding a shotgun, and Lex is basically about ready to kill Flash. And then Flash basically moves so fast he like vibrates through the two androids and then hits Luthor. And he realizes the only thing that he can do to defeat him is to basically just run around the planet and move so fast that he just hits Lex with so much kinetic energy as to destroy the Brainiac suit around him.
Yeah, the 1,000,000-mile-an-hour punch.
Yeah, and he just keeps going and going and going. It just keeps getting faster and faster and faster, and eventually he does it. He literally destroys Brainiac off of Lex, who's just like lying and like crumpled on the floor naked. But then he disappears into the Speed Force.
It's so good.
It is.
That moment where he's just standing there over Lex's body and just like
vibrating.
Won. Yeah, he can't stop, but like you see his power.
Oh yeah.
And the way they shot it is like with the low angle, so he just looks like a titan. And you finally see like he is on their level.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so interesting too that he's vibrating like that. It's almost like he's shaking. And obviously that's because he was moving so fast, but I think there's an emotional component there too of like, this is the most overt display of power he's ever shown. And for a guy who tends to be a little more on the lighthearted side, you can kind of see him like emotionally almost be shaking too, of just like this, trying to like regain control of himself.
Yeah, I would hate that.
From having gone so far. Yeah, and then he just disappears, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it happened. Like Lex says, I killed him. It happened. And then he's like, oh no, I think this is the part where you kill me, Superman. And Superman does pick him up, hold him up aloft, and his eyes glow red, and like he's at that moment, like, is he going to do it? Is he going to lobotomize him? And what I think is very interesting that moment is Wonder Woman goes to stop him and Batman intercedes. Which I think is really interesting.
It had to be Batman. I mean, it always has to be Batman.
It always has to be Batman, but it's so interesting that he decides that no one's going to try and stop Superman from doing what he has to do. Like, I guess you could say that that's a moment where he has faith in Clark, that Clark's going to do the right thing. But it's also a moment that if he's wrong, is going to lead to the destruction of everything. And it almost feels like a little bit out of character to me for him to do that in that moment. I don't know how you felt about it.
So we pitched this idea a few episodes ago about Justice League Doom, being what should have been the season 3.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, it would be uncharacteristic of Bruce, but at the same time, I could see him like, while he has one hand holding Wonder Woman back, the other hand is in his back pocket holding the kryptonite.
Maybe.
Like, if it didn't work, he was already ready to incapacitate Clark.
He had a backup plan in place.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say, too, that had to be thematic closure to Batman's arc over this season of he doesn't trust them. Like, the last time he really spoke with Clark was in the recovery room after Clark beat up Captain Marvel. And he's like, you don't get to joke about this. Like, you are lording yourself over everyone like a god. And I guess at that moment, he does, in fact, trust him. So I suppose there had to be that brief moment of thematic closure. That's probably why that's there.
Yes, I like that better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. That's why it's there. But, you know, Clark being Clark, it's like, I'm not the guy that killed President Luthor. I'm not going to kill you now.
Mm-hmm. I can take a kneecap, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Just a little, yeah.
just a quick
little zap
little
to the,
flick.
Yeah, zap to the knee. But that's when Jean realizes the Flash is still there. He's like connected with him psychically, and they kind of like walk around until they're able to like grab him and like hold him while he's in the Speed Force. And it's Shayera that finds him, and then, you know, John grabs her arm, and then they all kind of like grab each other and they pull him out of the Speed Force. And it's a really, really touching moment.
Yeah, I got chills.
I will be perfectly honest. I teared up a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
It was really emotionally affecting because, you know, they're all calling him Wally. And if there's one League member that has been in some ways kind of an outsider, it is kind of Wally. I mean, you know, Batman's the part-timer who's kind of always doing his own thing, but that's of his own choice. But Wally kind of feels like the guy who just somehow happened to be in the room.
Mm-hmm. And especially these past 2 seasons, like we barely saw him at all.
Yeah, I mean, he never has a speaking line in season 1.
Yeah.
Of Justice League Unlimited, and this season I think makes amends for that by putting him kind of front and center. But, you know, there's always been that kind of question of how much does the League trust him. Like, we're always joking that he doesn't even get, like, you know, access control to the Watchtower, right? Like, he's the one that can't be trusted.
He gets a visitor's pass every time he comes.
Exactly. But, you know, it just goes to show that he is the heart of those original 7, and they all do genuinely really care about him
and need him.
Yeah, and it's probably for me one of the most touching moments in the entire DCAU when they rescue him from the Speed Force there.
Yeah, and watching that moment when he vanishes, all I could think about was season 2 of Young Justice.
Oh yeah,
and I'm glad we have both sides where one does vanish for good ? And one does come back.
Yeah. Where's Wally?
Because like they're both so fuck you.
Where's Wally?
Oh fuck you. They're both so impactful.
They really are.
Oh man,
yeah.
Where's Wally?
And I mean, in that series too, he's kind of the heart at the end of the day, and it just goes to show like what a great character he is. And I think Wally tends to get oftentimes a little bit overlooked in favor of Barry, who now has come like back into the forefront of being the Flash. But he is a great character in his own right, and those 2 series like really do a good job highlighting that. But here especially, I mean, it's probably maybe the Flash's best moment or one of his best moments of the entire thing.
It's this, and then when he's talking with the Jester.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. That'll be next season. We get that
Yeah.
moment, but yeah, it's really really touching. I mean, I very very emotionally affected by that moment. It's really sweet. And then it's kind of like what happens now, and so Superman holds this like massive outdoor press conference with like the entire league there, a bunch of reporters. We see some little nods. It's fun. We see Summer Gleason. We see Snapper Carr.
Snapper Carr.
Lois is there with Jimmy, and Superman basically says like, we have to disband the league. No one should be this powerful, and it's irresponsible for us.
Yeah, we don't want to be an army.
Yeah, so we have to disband, and it's Green Arrow that calls him out and is like, no, you're wrong. Like, the world does need you, and he basically says like, if you're like the world owes you a huge gratitude for everything you've done, and if you've decided like this is the end of your journey, then that's fine, you can walk away. But if you're choosing to walk away because it's easier than staying and continuing the fight, then you're wrong. And I think it's really really poignant that it's Green Arrow who ultimately brings them all back together. The guy who didn't want to be a part of it in the first place and didn't think that he belonged.
Yeah, it's the bookend.
Yeah.
It's beautiful mirroring.
Yeah, and again, he was the other substantial voice in this season saying like, you guys are too powerful. This is wrong. And he's the one who realizes like, actually the league does need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
It has value. It's worth it. And there's that final little moment where Bruce says, I think
two rich boys being rich boys talking that rich boy language.
Rich boys talking in Latin there, but it basically translates to who guards the guardians, another version of who watches the watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Batman acknowledging that at the end of the day, like, the reason the league will never get out of hand is because it has grounded people like Arrow there. And it's interesting that he acknowledges that it's Arrow that does it, because in a lot of ways Batman was kind of supposed to be that person for a long time, but he's so separated from it all now.
Yeah, and we even had that exact conversation in Initiation.
Yeah.
Where like Batman is the one that convinces Ollie to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, you need to be here because I can't be that role anymore. I've seen too much shit.
He's no longer objective.
Yeah.
And he needs someone else to step into that spot. And again, it's these little moments that just close out all these different threads. I mean, this was intended to be the series finale.
I can see that. They wrap up everything.
They do kind of wrap it up perfectly, and there's still a handful of really great episodes next season, which is really fantastic. But there is something to be said about this might have been the superior finale to the whole thing, just because all these threads are so neatly tied up. I mean, going all the way back to Superman. I mean, like this episode basically like wraps up all like anything major that has been set up, starting with Superman up through now,
Mm-hmm.
like including stuff from this season, including stuff from previous seasons. Even that moment with John and Shaira when they're fighting their doppelgangers is a resolution of sorts to their journey together, that they kind of acknowledge that they're okay.
Yeah, they can be playful again.
Exactly. So it really does kind of wrap things up. And even when they're having that press conference, Batman, he's like, you guys got this. You don't need me. You have my number. And Wonder Woman says, oh, I think I have your number. And again, like that could even be considered like a final little beat for their relationship too in some ways. So, I mean, I guess we can have this conversation when we get to the actual proper finale of which one would be the better choice. But this works really.
You get that moment of Ollie and Black Canary riding off together.
Yeah.
Which is like a nice end for them.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything with like Supergirl or Steel, but I think if like they had a quick shot, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great, and it's literally everyone is there.
Yeah.
Except Static. I think Static should have been there.
Yeah, there's probably something out there that explains why Static just kind of isn't brought back around again. I mean, obviously he was there for the Justice League. No, it was Unlimited Season 1. That's right, the Once and Future thing. So it's interesting that they didn't bring him around in any sort of meaningful way here, which would have been nice to see.
Especially because he has a tie to Brainiac.
That's true, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the first time, I think, in the DCAU we see the Brainiac ship.
Yes.
I don't think we ever saw the Brainiac ship. I don't think we ever saw that version of the ship in Superman the Animated Series. He had like his spaceship, which had a very different look to it.
That could have been a unique tie-in to hint at what was coming, because we see Richie is taken over by Brainiac.
Yeah.
So he has the capacity to take over humans.
Yeah.
And if there was even just like, once Brainiac is out of Richie's body, just cut to Lex in like a prison cell. Like,
so you're but like, I guess these would have been fairly close together. I got to look up and see now when that episode of Static Shock aired. I think that would have been...
It would have been shorter than 7.5 years.
It would have been much shorter than 7.5 years. Yeah, it would have been closer to maybe like 1 or 2, maybe 2 at this point. Maybe 2 or 3. But yeah, I don't think they had it planned that far ahead, to be perfectly honest. I think they probably had to go back and find a spot where like the two of them interact. Like, oh, there, when Brainiac blasts Lex and he doesn't die. Let's just say that was him transferring a little nano part of him into Lex's body.
March 2003. So it would have been 2 years earlier.
Okay, yeah. So it would have been sooner, but not quite there.
Yeah. Still, Dwayne McDuffie wrote it.
So, yeah. Oh, God, Dwayne McDuffie. So good. So good. But yeah, this is, I think, one of my favorite episodes in the entire DCAU.
It's really, really good.
Yeah. It just hits on so many levels in terms of the action, the characters, the heartfelt moments. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant piece of storytelling across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think have we hit peak?
For me personally, I think last week was peak.
Okay.
I think that the setup to these final 2 episodes, they were so good. Both episodes were 10 out of 10s.
So, but do we maybe say that these 4 episodes? Is this
arc,
peak?
Yes, this arc is peak.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Let me throw this out there. There's a little bit of tangent here, but
what? A tangent?
A tangent
on this podcast?
Never. But
first one in 199 episodes.
So, say you treat these 4 episodes as like one standalone story.
Mm-hmm.
What's better, this or Mask of the Phantasm?
See, so that's an interesting question for me, because I think that's a tougher question for you.
Okay.
Because you are much more connected to Phantasm than I am.
Yes.
I think this is better.
Okay. I think because there's so many different pieces to this and it's so complex and there's so much involved, and I think this is in some ways maybe more sophisticated storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I think what holds it back, though, is in fact it's complicated. Like it is predicated on you knowing a lot of stuff building up to this, whereas Phantasm is its own unique standalone story. And I still maintain the best Batman movie ever made. So
yes,
and come fight me, nerds.
I fucking will. I got my gloves right now. Piece of shit.
Other nerds than Cameron, who 100% would beat the shit out of me. So,
no, that is a good point, and but that's the difference. Is this is a series and that is a movie.
Yeah. Well, but also like, you didn't watch Phantasm as a kid, right?
I didn't, and that's why I think that's a harder question for you.
Didn't you watch it the first time when we covered it on the show?
The first time I watched it was when we saw it at
the New Bev.
Yeah, New Beverly. Yeah.
Yeah, Tarantino's theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was great.
We're so LA.
We're so LA.
Oh, I hate us. Okay, that was the first time you had seen it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the big difference. Like that was really formative for me as a kid.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you until we did it on the podcast. So that was the first time I saw it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You held back.
Mm-hmm.
You lied to me.
I didn't lie. I just withheld the truth.
Yeah, a lie of omission. Yeah,
won't hold up in court.
Won't hold up in court. But actually, I mean, I think it is kind of like comparing apples to oranges, to use a cliche. But like, I would be kind of curious to hear other people's thoughts on that too. What do you think is better? This 4-part Cadmus finale or Mask of the Phantasm?
I would even go as far as which Cadmus arc is better, this Cadmus or Young Justice Cadmus arc.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Young Justice Cadmus arc has more, I would say, more to it. But I mean,
they have 2 seasons to go over, and this one just has 1.
Just has 1. But I mean, that is kind of the way all this works, though, right? It's like everything kind of lives in the shadow of its predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that they are lesser or derivative in any sort of way. I mean, I've said this repeatedly, but I was a big holdout on Young Justice for a long time because, like, how could it possibly be anywhere near as good as this? And then when I finally watched, I'm like, oh, it actually is, because they basically just took like the really sophisticated, season arc storytelling of this and just made it a whole show out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great. So.
Yeah, it was so good. It got canceled.
It got so good it got canceled. Like all great things.
Mm-hmm.
But it came back again.
It did.
Yes. I gotta sit down and watch the first 2 episodes of Phantoms.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for it.
Shit trailer.
Pretty bad trailer.
Awful trailer.
Which is really upsetting.
Yeah. And you kind of feel like they would have tried harder on that. It's just weird, like, voiceover the whole thing.
Yeah, it felt like a game show. Like I was ready for like a twist that this was all in someone's head.
Yeah. It was almost like I mean, this is not what it was, but to me, it kind of sounded like an old, news serial. Like, oh, and here the Justice League is going up against our villains. What will happen to them all?
Yeah,
Tune in next week.
I think it would have been cool if they set it up like that, and then it like pulled out to be like Mad Mod or Control Freak.
You're just trying to find a way to squeeze anything Teen Titans in anywhere
are
you
those
possibly
Titans characters?
can. Yeah, what are they? What? I never would have known.
We should probably watch the whole series just to like figure out how good they are.
Uh-huh. Sure. But any other thoughts on this year, on the end of our Cadmus arc?
I'm speechless. Truly,
Yeah.
I have nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about it than just it's excellent. So
I'm glad we've made it this far.
I know, I am too.
199 episodes.
We had doubts
to make it to the end, to the peak.
Yeah, we had doubts. We had some long gaps. I never thought we'd do it.
We had some mental breakdowns on both parties.
Yes.
A couple times.
Luckily at different times.
Yeah, oh, thank God there were always different times.
Yeah.
It's been tragic if we'd synced up our mental incapacities.
It's been truly fucked. But should we move on from here to some bat plugs?
Let's do some plugs.
Okay.
The plug.
Yes. Well, I mean, I have another one.
Okay.
So we have a shared plug, which is, as we promised last week, we're going to get into No Time to Die. I think we'll go probably full spoilers in that too. So I'll made a note in the show notes. But before that, I have had a chance to see Dune. You have not had a chance yet, unfortunately.
I have not. Correct.
But it is quite good.
Good.
Yes, I definitely think it's worth seeing. It's worth seeing in a theater, more so than HBO Max. It looks.
Oh, I forgot it's still day and day for HBO.
Yes, it is. It looks fucking gorgeous, as you'd expect from Villeneuve. It's for those of you who are familiar with the Villeneuve
oeuvre.
The Villeneuve oeuvre.
The Villeneuve.
The Villeneuve. It's very Villeneuve. So, you think about, especially his sci-fi stuff. So you think about Arrival, you think about Blade Runner 2049.
Arrival's so good.
It's very much in that sort of wheelhouse in terms of like, it's long, it's a little bit slow, it's very deliberate and like meticulous in its plotting, which means it's a little bit slow at times, but it looks gorgeous. It's got a unique but really great score from Hans Zimmer in there. Obviously great performances as you'd expect from that cast.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm telling people before they go in is keep in mind that this is approximately half of Dune the book.
It's a part one.
It is part one, and it's interesting because, and I do not consider this a spoiler because it's literally the title card, but the title card says Dune Part 1, which is very interesting because I don't recall anywhere else in any of the marketing or description of the movie it ever being referenced as a Part 1.
It certainly has not.
Yes.
Yeah, I've definitely never seen anything about that.
So I'm just cautioning people, keep that in mind when you get to the end of the movie, which I won't say how it ends, but when you get to the end, remember, this is not the full story.
I'm still going to go see it. I want to support this movie. I want to support sci-fi.
Yeah, and I think...
But that really frustrates me.
Yeah, and I think this is going to have to do well for us to see a second part, and I really hope we do end up getting the other half of it, because I would really love to see the rest of it.
Yeah, because this isn't something that can go to streaming. Like, this needs money behind it.
No, and it does. And the thing is, like I said, it's on the screen.
Okay.
Like, especially like when things really start to pick up, like it's all on there. Like the spectacle on it is mind-boggling in its scale and in its beauty. So I highly recommend it. I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend people go see it, especially if you're a nerdy sci-fi person, which if you're listening to us, you probably are.
Yeah. So we can keep this tangent short or not, however you feel. I was having this conversation with my coworkers the other day because he was talking about he has an 11-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And they have a hard time just watching movies in general because they're so used to short
That's fair,
content.
yeah.
And on the flip side of that, we've had the conversation with Zack Snyder about how moving movies to a streaming service breaks the mold of requiring kind of the hour and a half to 3 hour setup.
Yeah.
Would this be a movie that could exist in kind of a 4.5 hour format? Would you still gone to see it if it was 4.5 hours?
No. I mean, just because I don't want to see a 4.5 hour film. I mean, look, and we're going to get to it. No Time to Die, I love. Mm-hmm. It's 2 hours and 43 minutes. And
I stayed awake for most of it.
You stayed awake for most of it.
Which is pretty good.
You missed the best part.
I did.
But you know, even then, like, there are times when I feel the runtime, and I will admit there are times when I felt the runtime of Dune. You know, one could make the argument this may have been better served as a Game of Thrones style miniseries, which has been done before on the Sci-Fi Channel. Which I've never seen all of that adaptation. I've seen bits and pieces of it. But I think the problem is you do that, you don't have the talent behind it.
But I feel like that window is, or that gap is getting smaller and smaller.
It is getting
smaller every week with streaming.
It is. But I generally like you make this a miniseries, you don't get Villeneuve, you don't get Timothée Chalamet. Like, you might be able to get Oscar Isaac just because I think he's a little more open to doing.
Well, he's doing Moon Knight.
Yeah, he's a little more open to doing this kind of like experimental stuff. But I mean, you do not get the cast you get here. You do not get the director you get here. You don't get the money, frankly. And like, there are times when this is proper movie spectacle, and I would hate to see that disappear because it had to be brought down. And the thing is, like, TV budgets are, you can do a lot more of them now than you used to be able to. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be close.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to go see it no matter what.
Yeah, and I guess that's also like my pitch here is like, I really hope people do go see it. I'm just giving them the caveat of like, go see it, but be prepared to feel like a little bit maybe confused by the ending.
Got it. I mean, everything around Dune, I've always kind of come in with like, I'm going to be confused no matter what.
Yeah. And look, I'm reading the book right now. I'm not super far in. I'm maybe like a fifth of the way in, and it's picking up now, and I'm starting to really quite enjoy it. But I mean, it's a little bit slow, and I think the movie can be that way at times as well. But still worth a watch, certainly. So, but yeah, that was the one plug. The big plug we had this week is, of course, No Time to Die, since now both of us have seen it.
Yes, most of it.
Yes, that's true.
Like 96%.
Yeah. So full disclosure, we are going to get into spoilers here. I'm saying it here now. I'll also put it down in the show notes, and I'll do my best to try and timestamp it. But just assume that anything we talk about with No Time to Die is going to include spoilers for that film. I also need to try and like not just repeat myself on all the other places I've been talking about James Bond recently. So let's start off with, I want to get your perspective on this. What did you think of the movie as a non-Bond person?
I have seen, this is the third Bond movie I have seen.
Well, that's even up in question because you seem to have seen most of Skyfall and thought it was Spectre.
I only saw like the first 20 minutes of it.
You've seen like half.
Okay.
You've seen like more.
That's not too bad.
You've probably seen like 2/3 of Skyfall now.
Oh, wow.
Based on what you described, you have seen 2/3 of that movie.
Okay. I've seen a small collective of Bond.
Which, to be fair, I think most people on the planet have seen at least a little bit of Bond.
Yes.
So.
Love Casino Royale.
Yeah.
I only saw Spectre because I had just become friends with you and Shane.
And again, we did not see it together.
We did not.
Yeah.
But we were in improv together at that time.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed this one.
Okay.
I came in with fairly low expectations. I'll out her immediately. The day before going to see the movie, I got a call from my mom saying that she hated it. Mm-hmm. And that put me in a mindset of like, oh, cool. I'm going to have like a nice 2 hour and 43-minute nap.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the characters were great. I thought the ending, it hurt me. It's, you know, going full spoilers. It's the first movie with the sad ending that I've seen in well over 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, since the pandemic hit, I've actively been seeking out just only happy things.
I mean, I think we've all been really enjoying our Ted Lasso, haven't we?
But even Ted Lasso's getting dark right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But still, like, I think all of us have been kind of gravitating towards happier fare.
Yes. Even as someone who didn't fully remember any through lines from Spectre into this, I remember Blofeld.
Yeah.
And I forgot that it was Christoph Waltz playing him.
Yes.
Completely forgot the girl.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it still works for me. Mm-hmm. It's a movie you don't need to see the previous ones to kind of understand what's going on.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, listening to you and Shane talk about it in the car afterwards, there's obviously so much that like you enjoyed more because you knew the background information.
Yeah.
But even without that, like I still really enjoyed the movie.
I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah, because like it's impossible for me to be objective on this.
Right.
And I look at it through a very specific lens of like knowing this world in and out. Like every little reference they put in there, like, oh, I know what that is referencing. You know, it's like when Bond pushes a car over to kill a villain, I'm like, oh, that's a reference to For Your Eyes Only.
Like, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, and the villain, the B villain, because like obviously Rami Malek is fine.
Yeah, he's one of the weaker parts of the whole thing, I would say. It's definitely not flawless.
Yes. Yeah. It's not Casino Royale.
No.
But what's his face? The other guy,
Billy Magnuson?
Billy Magnuson. He's so fun to hate.
Yeah, he's great.
And he's so good at playing he knows just how to twist the knife just so perfectly and so precisely.
Yeah.
Just to be like, fuck you. Every chance he does something, it's like, fuck you, man. And he's so good at it.
He's great. I love him. He's great in this. Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I loved it even more second time around.
Yes.
Again, I think knowing what to expect. I think it has a handful of just unbelievable set pieces. The cold open features the car chase where Bond is trying to escape from the Spectre agents in the DB5. I think it's the best use of the DB5 across the entire franchise.
That's the car for people who are confused me without the context clues.
Yes, the Silver Birch 1964 Aston Martin DB5.
Thank you.
It's fucking brilliant. I mean, when like the Gatling guns come on and he like triggers the smoke screen and he's like doing donuts and revving the engine and just laying fire down on all these guys and the Bond music kicks in, I'm just like, oh yes, this is what I love in life. I think that's a great set piece. Unfortunately, you slept through pretty much all of it, but
I saw that one. The next one's
the whole Cuba set piece that you slept through. Unfortunately, is like maybe the best part of the whole movie. The whole Cuba set piece is amazing. Anna de Armas, total scene stealer. I love her in this movie. She's incredible. Yeah, I think most of the finale I really, really enjoy. Like, I'm glad they found a way to kind of bring back a villain layer and have it kind of work in context and not feel a little over the top.
It fell over the top.
What? You didn't like the villain layer?
No, I did, but it's very Chris. There's a pool of poison.
Yeah,
where just people are standing in it, just stirring it. I think.
Look,
that's not over the top.
I love it. So here's the thing: is that this movie does a lot of things that Spectre tried to do and failed. Like Spectre tried to bring back, a little organization Spectre that tried to bring back like. Blofeld has this like remote base in the middle of like the African desert, and it's supposed to have that sort of villain lair feel to it. And I feel like that didn't work, and here for me it totally did. Like even down to the point where like they're actively decorating the place, like in typical traditional Bond villain fashion of like I have this villainous lair, but also it's gonna have like the world's finest decor over the whole thing.
Yeah,
like I loved all of that sort of stuff they brought in there. It's got a great like one-er shot of Bond like going up a stairwell fighting a bunch of guys. It's fantastic, and I think the chemistry between Daniel Craig and Lea Seydoux, between Bond and Madeline Swan, is not great. It's nowhere near what it was for like with Vesper and Casino Royale, or even with Moneypenny and Skyfall. But I think it's better this time around than it was in Spectre, and I think their story mostly works for me.
I mean, in the brief moment I saw of it, I loved the chemistry between Daniel Craig and Anna de Armas.
Yes, and they're fun, and they have this kind of like fun flirtation that doesn't really feel sexual. They're just like, oh, you're fun. Yeah, you're fun too.
Yeah,
let's just have fun together. Yeah, I really like the general arc they give Bond in this movie. I think it's Craig's best performance because I think he has the most to do. Other than that, I would have said Skyfall because I have a general theory that the third film is the best performance for all the Bond actors. And they give him a proper send-off. Like, the biggest spoil of them all here is that they kill Bond at the end.
Maybe. We don't see a body.
Oh, shut the fuck up. He blows up, and his little heart monitor goes offline. He is dead.
That also happened at the end of The Dark Knight Rises.
I don't want to get into the asinine ending of The Dark Knight Rises and how stupid that is. But, like, they properly kill him here, which I think, was a good call because they had to justify why Craig's not coming back because he's been the most popular Bond since Sean Connery, or some can maybe even argue ever. So it makes sense that they had to find a reason for him not to come back around again. But, I mean, it's precedent breaking, though. They've never killed Bond before. This is really kind of makes these 5 films a complete story in a way that's never been a big thing before. So it leaves them in a very interesting place going forward. And it's worth noting that at the very end of the credits, it does say James Bond will return. Not 007. James Bond will return.
Yes, because that's a big part of this movie is there is a new 007.
Yes, because Bond has been retired for 5 years living in Jamaica at a fun little cameo from the GoldenEye estate, Ian Fleming's home in Jamaica, where he wrote the original novels while trying to escape his pregnant fiance.
That's incredible.
Famous horrible person, Ian Fleming. But yes, they filmed some of it out at his house in Jamaica, but he's retired, and in his absence, there is a new 007. Character's name is Nomi, played by Lashana Lynch, who I really like. Lashana Lynch. I think she's fantastic as Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel. I feel like she's maybe a little underutilized here. She's primarily just there to kind of be a foil for Bond in some ways, but they do have a kind of a good dynamic.
She has a great character intro.
She does.
Where it's them going back to his estate. She takes off the wig.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not the thing I was expecting you to take off.
Yes. Yeah. I think she's got a good intro. I think she has some good moments throughout. I like that the two of them like partner up together at the very end. And I like that Bond doesn't argue with her. He's like, thank you for coming along with me on this. And like, he does trust her and they work together in a kind of cool way we don't see very often. You know, it's like, oh, so maybe they'll do a spinoff or something like that. I don't know. I don't think that's the way they're going to go here on this. And also,
I wouldn't expect it to.
And for me, she wasn't compelling enough to want to see a whole movie around. Maybe if it's her and Ana de Armas, maybe that could be kind of fun. But I'd more be there for Ana de Armas.
And I think the problem is exactly that: is the characters around her. Just to your point before, all the characters she interacts with are too big for a TV spinoff. You could not get Ralph Fiennes for a show.
Well, and here's the thing too: is the other kind of wrench in all this is that MGM, which owns the rights to Bond, was bought by Amazon recently, and that is by far MGM's biggest property. I'm sure Amazon wants to milk this thing for everything they possibly can. The thing standing in the way is the actual producers on the film. So Barbara Broccoli, the daughter of
the best name,
Barbara Brox, the daughter of Albert R. Cubby Broccoli, the Bond producer from the very beginning, and then his stepson Michael G. Wilson. Barbara and Michael are like the shepherds of the whole franchise, and they have absolute creative control over the whole thing. Like nothing can get done without their green light,
which is good. I think we do need more of that in Hollywood,
which is good. Yeah. So I think,
except with Sherlock, because that whole bullshit is stupid.
Oh, let's not talk about Stephen Moffat and Sherlock. But yeah, like Barbara said, like, we have no plans of doing a spinoff on Amazon series anytime soon, but who knows? Like, I'm sure Amazon is going to push really hard to try and do something with this. You know, I really like this supporting cast. And I'm kind of sad because I feel like the only way forward now is to do a full reboot, which means we have to say goodbye to Ralph Fiennes and Naomi Harris and Ben Whishaw, who in particular I really love. So like,
Q? I love him as Q. He's so fun.
I know, and they finally it's a small little moment. They finally let us acknowledge the fact that Q is gay in this, which I really like, because Ben Whishaw is gay in real life.
Oh,
yeah. So I think the only way forward is to do like a full on big reboot, and I think that's the right way to go. And then my hope is that maybe because these 5 films have been such a drastic departure from the classic Bond formula of just like a one-off mission, that maybe they can kind of bring that back around again and it'll feel fresh once more.
My fear with that is that's not how Hollywood likes to think anymore.
I know.
And so I think even if they try and do a one-off, if the first 2/3 are good, the last third is going to change to be a sequel bait.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that is the direction things are going. So I mean, look, it puts the whole franchise in a really unique position to be very open-ended. What happens now, and I'm hoping that they continue to take some risks. Like, that's kind of the big things that define Craig's era, is that they took risks, and I think for the most part they paid off. Not always, but most part. I hope they keep doing that.
Me too. I'm genuinely excited after watching that, and then after watching your video on the Watchtower database.
Yes,
this is the first time in my life where I'm like, I should probably go watch some other James Bond movies.
Yeah, there's some great ones out there. Also, some terrible ones out there. That's one of the best things about it, is that it runs the full gamut of quality.
Great. So, question for you to end all this off.
Yeah.
What is your dream? Who is your dream next Bond?
I don't have a specific actor. There's a handful that I think could be good. I mean, I think Henry Golding could be interesting. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't know if he has the chops.
He's British, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's British and gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Henry Golding is the man right now.
I just don't know if he has the talent for it.
You still haven't seen Snake Eyes.
No.
I will pitch it again. I do think Snake Eyes is one of the best action films of this year.
Okay. I'll probably watch it at some point.
Yeah.
But like, if I don't have a specific actor in mind, I kind of like it when they go for more of an unknown person. I mean, Craig had been working, but he wasn't a big name when they brought him in, and he's done amazing work, right? So, my big thing is I really want the next Bond to be an actor of color,
Great.
because why the fuck not?
Mm-hmm.
You can absolutely do that now. The only thing is they just have to be like, they don't have to be British. At the end of the day, like they shouldn't be American. Like they should be some kind of British. But fucking George Lazenby's Australian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like
Could we get a Kiwi?
I mean that would be very interesting. But like Connery was Scottish. Roger Moore is actually British. Timothy Dalton is Welsh. Pierce Brosnan's Irish.
Oh,
Daniel
wow,
Craig's
okay.
British. So it's like they've kind of run the gamut there. So they don't even have to be like English as long as they're kind of amongst the general former British colonies. I don't know how the better way to put it, part of the United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The greater UK. Yeah.
The greater UK. I don't know the full geopolitics on that. So, yeah. And my other big thing is I feel like Bond should fuck everybody. So go ahead and make him queer, make him bi, make him pan, whatever. But that just gives more room for storytelling. And that is a natural progression of that character that makes sense. And I feel like the only way forward with Bond is to do what they've always done, which is find a way to make it relevant now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to make it relevant now is to have that character more accurately reflect what the world looks like now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, suck it Nazis, but I really want a queer person of color to play Bond. So fucking make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
And if this is repeating a lot of the same stuff I said on X-Ray, but like, I also think the conversation about whether Bond should be a woman or not is really reductive. I think Bond is a reflection of modern masculinity, and I think you can say much more interesting things about a male character now than it would be to just swap out the gender. I think the answer to that is you put in more awesome female characters that could go toe-to-toe with Bond. I mean, I think Ana de Armas is a great example. Like, that is not a sexual relationship. They even kind of like tease at that idea, and it gets shut down in a really fun way. But she just gets to be like a super fun character who's really good at her job that has a lot of fun personality. Like, you just do more of that. That's the answer to how you handle that sort of thing. But I think you just keep having Bond be male, but have him more accurately reflect what's going on in the world. So
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, and I'm really excited for what they do next. Really, really excited for it.
Me too.
So, God. And again, I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, it's I feel like becoming more and more rare nowadays to have things land the finales.
Yeah,
And this landed.
Yeah, I think it really sticks the landing. I don't feel like it's not flawless. There's definitely some little foibles I have along the way, but I don't wish there was a different version of this movie out there the way I do with, say, like Rise of Skywalker or even Spectre, or the entire DC extended universe.
Every DC movie.
Every DC movie. Yeah, I'm really glad that they ended up making this movie. So, I mean, I hope that if you're listening to this, you've already seen it and don't mind everything having been talked about here. And I guess if you haven't, it's all been spoiled for you, but go see it. It's really great.
It is really good.
Yeah.
And now you know to prepare yourself for a sad ending. Because I didn't. And I bring my like portable headphones with me wherever, because that's now my like safety item.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm just like fully clenching it when the missiles are coming down.
Look, I mean, yes, it is. I see it as a melancholy and a little bit bittersweet. I mean, obviously it ends with his death and it's sad, but it ends on kind of a sweet little note there. And for those of you that don't know, this movie heavily references On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and in particular, the use of the phrase and the song "We Have All the Time in the World," which I think was done really, really beautifully, especially there at the very end. To have it end of that song is just really, really touching. So it's great. Yeah, loved it. Super happy with it.
Me too.
Yes. But thank you, Cameron, for giving me a platform to talk at length about James Bond.
Hey, we can't all be X-Ray Vision giving you the national platform that you deserve.
I got more time here, though, because it's my show.
Yes.
But yes, and you know what? The nice thing is, I'm pretty sure I can say this is the last time I will talk at length about James Bond on this podcast.
No, we'll find a way.
In the 8 episodes we have remaining?
We'll find a way.
Okay. But thank you for letting me take the time to do that. But I think this ends it for us this week. We will be back next week with episode 200 covering Epilogue.
What? I wish I could say we planned this. I think you may have
We
planned
did.
this.
I actually manipulated how we cover the episodes that we would hit 200 at epilogue. I mean, it kind of worked out by coincidence, but I also like changed things around a little bit to make this happen.
Yes. It's been a long plan for you. I just kind of stumbled into the room.
You just go along with me for the ride, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll be back next week to discuss that. Until then, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
Yes.
You can find me at Lordifer on Instagram.
Yes, if you want to see my art, you can find that at Cameron.Dexter. And if you want to see my face, you can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Nice.
I've not done a single Inktober thing this year.
No one expected you to, Cameron.
Nope.
Yep. Every year diminishing returns. So if anything, you've been consistent.
I'll do one. I'll get one in by the 31st.
Sure you will.
I'm not.
Sure you will. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Ba 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 ba.
Ba 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 na 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 na.
Ba ba ba
Ba ba ba ba na 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 na.
ba.
Beautiful.
Actually got it that time.
You were on it.
Yeah. Timm Talk will return.